They tell you that getting older means slowing down, that your best years are behind you, but I am here to tell you something different, and I want you to really hear me. If you're over 60, your life is not winding down, it's sharpening, because right now, in this season of life, you have something younger people don't: time, wisdom, and the chance to make every single heartbeat count. But here is the truth that too few seniors ever hear until it is too late. Most people done survive their first heart attack, not because their body gives up, but because they don't know what to do in those first few minutes alone. Let that sink in. It's not age that takes them, it's hesitation. I've spent more than 30 years working in emergency rooms. I've seen thousands of heart attacks, and I can tell you, almost half of those deaths happen before the patient ever reaches the hospital. It breaks my heart every single time because, in so many cases, they could have survived. They just didn't know the right actions, simple, powerful steps that could have bought them the time to live. And that's exactly what I'm going to give you today. 7 science-backed, practical, life-saving actions that every senior must know to survive a heart attack when you're alone. I call them the 7 golden minutes, because that is what it often comes down to. 7 minutes that decide whether you walk out of that hospital or you don't walk out at all. Now I want you to stay with me through this entire message, because the third tip, the one I'll get to soon, has saved more lives in my career than almost any other single action I've ever seen. But first, let's start at the very beginning, with the most important truth of all. Number 7. Call emergency services immediately. I know what you're thinking. Of course, everyone knows that. But let me stop you right there, because this one step is where most people lose their chance. I can tell you how many seniors I've treated who felt that first wave of pressure in their chest and thought, it's probably just indigestion. I'll wait it out. That waiting, that hesitation, is what kills. Every minute you delay, your heart muscle is dying. Cardiologists have a phrase: time is muscle. The longer you wait, the less heart tissue survives. And the less heart tissue survives, the lower your chance of recovery. Let me tell you about a man named George, 71 years old, a retired carpenter from Ohio. He was fixing a cabinet one afternoon when he started to feel that heavy pressure right behind his breastbone. He told himself it was probably heartburn. He drank some water, sat down for a bit, and waited. When his daughter found him 2 hours later, he was still sitting in that same chair. But his pulse was fading. When he reached my ER, we did everything we could, but the damage was too great. If George had called emergency services right away, even 10 minutes earlier, he could have lived. That delay sealed his fate. Here's the thing: calling for help doesn't make you weak. It makes you wise. Don't think, I don't want to bother anyone. Don't assume you'll see if it passes. Pick up that phone and dial immediately. Even if it turns out to be nothing, you've lost nothing. But if it is something, and very often it is, you've just given yourself a second chance at life. And here's where the truth gets shocking. According to the American Heart Association, patients who call emergency services within the first 10 minutes of symptoms have survival odds up to 50% higher than those who delay. 50%. That's the difference between life and death. So here's my first challenge to you. And it might sound simple, but it's vital. Right now, as you're listening, think of your phone. Where is it? If you had to call for help this second, could you reach it? If the answer is no, move it. Keep your phone with you, always. Because heart attacks don't wait until you're ready. Now stay with me, because calling is just the first move. What you do next, while waiting for paramedics, can literally keep your heart alive. Number 6. Chew. Don't swallow. An aspirin if you can. This one small act is a game changer. See, most people think aspirin is just for headaches or arthritis pain. But in an emergency, that little white pill can save your life. Here's why. Most heart attacks happen because a clot blocks blood flow to part of your heart. Aspirin thins your blood. It slows down clot growth and keeps some blood moving, even through a partial blockage. And the faster you take it, the better your chances. Now, most folks swallow it, but here's the secret. Chewing it works twice as fast. When you chew aspirin, it breaks apart in your mouth and absorbs directly through the lining of your cheeks and stomach into your bloodstream in minutes. That speed buys you precious time. One study in The Lancet showed that taking aspirin during a heart attack reduces the risk of death by 23%. But those who chewed it saw even faster benefits. Let me tell you about Maria. She's 68, a retired teacher, lives alone in Arizona. One morning she felt that same crushing pain, the kind that makes you gasp for air. But Maria had heard one of my talks a year earlier. She remembered, call 911, chew an aspirin. She kept a small bottle in her kitchen drawer. She called emergency services, then chewed one full tablet, 325 milligrams, plain, not coated. By the time paramedics arrived, her heart rhythm was still stable. Doctors later told her that single pill kept her heart muscle alive long enough for them to restore full blood flow. Maria walked out of the hospital 3 days later, alive, alert, and grateful. But here's the painful truth. Most people don't keep aspirin in reach. They either don't think of it, or it's hidden somewhere they'll never reach in an emergency. So here is what I tell all my patients. Keep a small bottle of uncoated aspirin in 3 places: your kitchen, your bedside table, and your bag or walker pouch. And if you have a heart condition, talk to your doctor about this now. If they say it's safe for you, make it part of your personal emergency plan. And if you're allergic to aspirin or have been told not to take it, skip this step. But for everyone else, this is one of the smartest, simplest, and most powerful tools you have to stay alive. And don't forget, chew, don't swallow. Those minutes matter more than you think. Now, the next tip might sound simple too, but it is one of the most overlooked moves that can make the difference between fainting on the floor and staying conscious until help arrives. Number 5. Loosen tight clothing and sit upright. I can't stress this enough. When a heart attack strikes, your heart is struggling, fighting to push oxygen-rich blood through narrowed arteries. Every small thing you do to help that process can make a difference. Tight clothes, belts, collars, they restrict blood flow. They make it harder for your body to circulate oxygen where it's needed most. And here's another thing. Lying flat is one of the worst things you can do in the middle of an attack. It forces your heart and lungs to work harder. It increases chest pressure and can make you feel like you're suffocating. Instead, sit upright, at a gentle angle, with your back supported. This relieves strain on your heart, helps air move freely into your lungs, and keeps you stable. A few years ago, I treated a woman named Ruth, 74 years old, a retired nurse who loved gardening. One afternoon, she was out trimming her roses when she felt that unmistakable chest pressure. But Ruth had read one of my senior health guides. She remembered the rule: stay upright, breathe, call for help. She sat in a garden chair, loosened her apron and waistband, and waited, calmly breathing. When the ambulance arrived, she was pale but conscious. Her paramedic later told me if she had tried to lie down or walk into the house, she would have collapsed before we got there. That simple choice, sitting upright, gave her body the stability it needed. And this isn't just anecdotal. Clinical studies in the European Heart Journal have shown that upright positioning during cardiac distress reduces pulmonary congestion, that the fluid buildup in the lungs that makes breathing harder, and improves blood oxygen levels. So yes, the way you sit could literally keep you alive. So if you ever feel that crushing pressure, shortness of breath, or that cold, clammy sweat, sit upright. Don't recline, don't pace, don't try to walk it off. Find a stable chair, or even sit on the floor with your back against the wall. Loosen your clothes, free your chest and waist, then breathe. Slowly, calmly, steadily. Give your heart room to do its job. And that brings us to the next step. one that's controversial, often misunderstood, and yet, when done correctly, can keep you conscious and alive when you feel your world slipping away. Number 4, cough strongly if you feel faint or dizzy. Now this is where people often lean in and say, "Wait, what? You want me to cough during a heart attack?" Yes, but listen closely. This technique, sometimes called cough CPR, isn't a cure. It's not a replacement for medical care, but it can buy you precious seconds if you start to lose consciousness. When you cough forcefully, you create pressure inside your chest, the same pressure that happens when your heart contracts. That pressure helps push blood through your arteries and up to your brain. It's like giving your heart a little extra help until emergency responders arrive. I once met a man named Thomas, a 69-year-old mechanic from Texas. He was working alone in his garage when he suddenly felt dizzy, like the world was spinning away. He remembered hearing about cough CPR in a senior health class. So he took a deep breath and started coughing, strong, deep coughs every few seconds. He stayed conscious until the paramedics got there. Later, when I saw him in the hospital, he said, "Doc, I don't know what saved me, but I just kept coughing like you said." And the truth is, that action, those repeated coughs, probably kept enough blood moving to his brain to prevent a complete collapse. Now, this technique isn't for every situation. If you're already breathing fine, don't cough just to do it, but if you start to feel faint, if your vision narrows, or if your body feels like it's going limp, try it. Take a deep breath, then cough hard, deep from your chest, as if you're trying to clear your lungs. Repeat every 2 to 3 seconds until help arrives or you feel stable again. It may sound simple, but in those moments when your heart rhythm starts to falter, every single cough can push blood forward and buy you time. And remember, time in these moments is everything. Now let me pause for a moment and tell you why I share these stories. Because the truth is, you don't just need information, you need belief. You need to know that survival is possible, even when you're alone, even when you're scared. I've seen seniors who had no one around, no fancy technology, no family nearby, yet they made it because they acted fast and remembered these small steps. This isn't about fear, it's about power, the power to take control of those first critical minutes. And speaking of control, that brings us to the next action, which almost nobody talks about, but it is one of the most practical things you can do to make sure help reaches you in time. It's something so simple, you might never have thought about it before. But once you hear it, you'll never forget it. Before we go there, I want to ask you something, and I'd love for you to answer this in the comments when you were done listening. How prepared do you feel for a sudden emergency like this? Do you keep aspirin or an emergency plan somewhere you can reach it? Your answers might help someone else reading. Sometimes, hearing what another senior is doing for their safety gives others the courage to prepare too. So take a moment, and after this video, tell me your answer, because this conversation could save lives. But right now, let's keep going, because this next step, number 3, might just be the one that decides whether help reaches you fast enough to make the difference. And when I tell you what it is, you'll realize why so many people never make it, even when they do everything else right. Because this next step, number 3, might just be the one that decides whether help reaches you fast enough to make the difference. And when I tell you what it is, you'll realize why so many people never make it, even when they do everything else right. Number 3, unlock your door and keep your phone nearby. I can tell you how many times paramedics have told me they reached a patient SS home, but couldn't get in. They could hear the person gasping for breath on the other side of the door. They could see them through the window, but the door was locked. Those seconds, those heart-shattering minutes, can mean the difference between life and death. It sounds so simple, but when your chest tightens and panic rises, you don't think about locks or keys. Your brain goes into survival mode. That's why you need to make this a habit now, not later, not someday. If you ever feel the warning signs, chest pressure, pain radiating to your arm or jaw, breathlessness, nausea, or that eerie cold sweat, call emergency services first. Then unlock your front door. If you can, leave it open just a crack so the paramedics can get in fast. That single act removes a barrier between you and life-saving help. I remember a man named Peter. He was 73, a widower who lived alone in a small house outside Phoenix. When he called 911, his voice was weak but steady. The operator stayed with him on the line. Paramedics were just 4 minutes away, but when they arrived, every door was locked. They had to break through the side window. By the time they reached him, his pulse was fading. He didn't make it. Later, one of the medics told me quietly, "If that door had been open, we would have had time." Now contrast that with Helen, 80 years old, living in Florida. She had seen one of my earlier talks. She'd memorized the steps. When her heart attack hit, she did exactly what I'm telling you now, called 911, chewed an aspirin, sat upright, and unlocked her door before she got too weak. She stayed on the phone until help arrived. The team got in instantly, gave her oxygen, and stabilized her heart rhythm right there in the living room. Helen was sitting up and talking by the time they wheeled her out. She survived with minimal damage. A locked door can cost you your life. An unlocked one can save it. And while we're talking about access, let's talk about the device that can be your lifeline, your phone. Too many seniors leave their phone on a charger in another room or tucked away in a purse. During a heart attack, walking even a few steps can cause collapse. You need that phone within arm's reach at all times. Keep it on a small table near your favorite chair. Keep it beside your bed. If you're gardening or out on the porch, slip it in your pocket or a small waist pouch. You're not being paranoid. You're being prepared. That's the essence of independent living. Because independence doesn't mean doing everything alone. It means being ready for anything that comes your way. If you're someone who uses a medical alert system or smartwatch that can call emergency services, that's even better. But even without those tools, the basics still save lives. Phone nearby, door unlocked, body calm. And speaking of calm, the next step might be the most important skill you ever learn, one that not only helps you survive a heart attack, but can improve your health and longevity every single day of your life. Number 2, take slow, deep breaths. Now, I know you've heard that advice before. Take a deep breath. It sounds almost too simple, but when your heart is struggling and panic floods your body, this one act becomes medicine. Here's what happens inside you. Fear releases adrenaline. Adrenaline makes your heart race, your blood pressure rise, and your breathing quicken. Your heart, already fighting for oxygen, is suddenly working twice as hard. That's why panic can turn a survivable heart attack into a fatal one. But slow, deep breathing reverses that spiral. When you inhale calmly through your nose and exhale gently through your mouth, you send a signal through your vagus nerve, a direct line between your lungs, your brain, and your heart. It tells your body, you're safe, slow down. Your pulse eases. Your blood vessels relax. Oxygen flows more efficiently. You stop drowning in panic and your body begins to stabilize. I once treated a retired nurse named Evelyn. She was 76. When her heart attack struck, she did something extraordinary. She didn't fight the fear. She sat upright, closed her eyes, and focused on her breathing. Long, slow inhales through her nose, longer exhales through pursed lips. When paramedics arrived, she was weak but fully conscious. Her blood pressure was steady. Her cardiologist later told her, "You gave yourself time. Those calm, deliberate breaths slowed the damage long enough for us to restore her heart rhythm." Evelyn still calls it her breathing miracle. And here's the beautiful thing. You can practice this every day, not just in emergencies. Slow, mindful breathing is one of the oldest longevity secrets known to medicine. It strengthens your cardiovascular system, lowers stress hormones, and improves blood flow to every organ. So right now, while you're healthy, practice it. Inhale through your nose for 4 seconds. Hold gently for 2. Exhale through pursed lips for 6. This is more than relaxation. It's resilience training for your heart. And when that moment of crisis ever comes, your body will remember exactly what to do. Now, if you've been keeping track, we're down to the final and most powerful step of all. The one that ties everything together. The one that gives your heart its best chance, not just to survive, but to heal. And it's the simplest of them all. Number 1. Stay calm and still. When pain strikes your chest, your first instinct is to move, to pace, to reach for water, to lie down, to do something. But movement is your enemy in those first few minutes. Every step you take, every muscle you tense, every effort to push through the pain forces your already starving heart to work harder. It's like pressing the gas pedal when the engine has no oil left. What you need is stillness. When you stay still, you conserve oxygen. You reduce strain. You give your heart the only gift it needs in that moment, a chance to recover. Doctors in the European Heart Journal found that patients who remained calm and motionless during acute heart events had significantly lower complication rates than those who panicked or tried to walk around. Stillness is not surrender, it's strategy. I remember one man, a farmer named Dale, 71 years old. He was out in his barn repairing a piece of equipment when that crushing pain hit. He started to climb the ladder to grab his phone, but halfway up his legs weakened. Something inside him, maybe instinct, maybe grace, told him to stop. He sat down on the lowest rung, took his phone from his pocket and called for help. He didn't move again. When paramedics arrived, his heart rhythm was dangerously unstable, but he was alive. Later he told me, "Doc, I wanted to move, but I heard your voice in my head saying, 'Stay still and breathe.' That's all I did." Dale survived with less damage than we expected. He told me later that he used to think strength meant motion. Now he knows sometimes strength means stillness. When you stay calm and still, you also quiet your mind. That matters just as much. Fear releases adrenaline, and adrenaline can throw your heart rhythm into chaos. But when you focus on calmness, your body produces a different set of chemicals: serotonin, oxytocin, endorphins. These help balance your heart rhythm and reduce oxygen demand. So when you call for help, chew your aspirin, sit upright, unlock your door, and start those slow breaths. Your final task is to be still. Tell yourself out loud if you need to, "I've done everything I can. Help is on the way. My job now is to stay calm and breathe." That's how you survive the storm. And now, let's talk about what happens after the storm, because surviving a heart attack is just the beginning. What you do in the days, weeks, and months after can determine whether you spend the rest of your life in fear or in freedom. Here's what I tell every patient who comes through my doors: survival isn't luck, it's preparation. Every small step you take to protect your heart, from learning mobility exercises to keeping your mind calm, from improving your diet to staying connected with loved ones, those are your real longevity secrets. That's how you reverse aging from the inside out. Let me share one last story, the one I think about every single time I talk about survival. It's about a man named Sam. Sam was 78 when I first met him. He'd had a heart attack while watching TV at home, alone. He survived, but just barely. When I saw him in recovery, he looked defeated. He said, "Doc, I guess that's it. I'll never get back what I had." But I saw something in him, a spark of fight. So I told him, "Sam, surviving a heart attack doesn't mean you're finished. It means you've been given another chance to start over." He took that seriously. Over the next year, Sam changed everything. He started walking 15 minutes a day, just a gentle stroll with his dog. He joined a community senior fitness group, learned simple mobility exercises to improve balance and blood flow. He practiced deep breathing every morning. He lost weight. He laughed more. He reconnected with his old friends. A year later, he came back for a checkup, and his heart was stronger than I'd ever seen it. He looked me straight in the eye and said, "Doc, I feel 20 years younger." And you know what? He wasn't exaggerating. His numbers, his energy, his attitude, they all reflected a man who had learned to live again. That's the real miracle. Not just surviving, but living better. Sam taught me something I never forgot. Surviving a heart attack isn't about escaping death. It's about rediscovering life. Because once you've looked mortality in the eye, every sunrise feels different. Every cup of coffee tastes richer. Every hug lasts a little longer. You stop taking time for granted because you realize time itself is the most precious medicine of all. And that's what I want for you. Not just to survive, but to thrive, to take these 7 steps and let them remind you of your strength, your wisdom, and your ability to live independently, not fearfully, but powerfully. Here's what I want you to remember. Your heart has carried you through every joy, every heartbreak, every lesson life has offered. It's more resilient than you think, and with a little preparation, it can keep beating strong for decades to come. So learn these steps, practice them, share them, because you never know whose life you might save. A spouse, a friend, even a stranger who remembers your words at the right moment. Let's go over them one more time, together. Call emergency services immediately. Chew, don't swallow, an aspirin. Loosen tight clothing and sit upright. Cough strongly if you feel faint. Unlock your door and keep your phone nearby. Take slow, deep breaths. And finally, stay calm and still. 7 simple actions that could keep you alive when seconds matter most. They're not complicated. They don't require equipment. They just require awareness. And awareness is the first step toward longevity, independence, and peace of mind. Now, before we end, I want to leave you with one final truth, something I've learned after 3 decades in emergency medicine. You can't always control what happens to your body, but you can control how prepared you are. And preparation, my friends, is power. Because when you know what to do, fear loses its grip. And when fear fades, your heart and your life open up again. So here's my challenge for you. Tonight, take 10 minutes and prepare your home. Keep a small bottle of aspirin in an easy-to-reach spot. Place your phone charger where you can grab it without getting up. Share these steps with the people you love, because their safety matters just as much as yours. Write down your emergency numbers in large print. Keep them by the phone. And most of all, practice calm breathing every day. It's the simplest exercise you'll ever do, but one that can change the course of your health and extend your life. That's the real secret behind longevity. Not expensive treatments or impossible routines, just small, consistent habits that protect your heart, calm your mind, and keep you moving freely through life. That's what independent living really means. So if you found value in this message, if even one of these tips gave you hope or clarity or the courage to prepare, do me one favor. Share this video with someone you care about, because you might be the reason they survived their heart attack. And if you haven't yet, subscribe to this channel. We're building a community of seniors, caregivers, and families who believe that aging isn't decline, it's evolution. Here we talk about real longevity secrets, senior health tips that actually work, and the truth about reversing aging from the inside out. We do it together, one heart, one story, one life at a time. So leave a comment below and tell me, which of these 7 steps are you going to put into action today? Your words might inspire someone else to take that same step, and maybe, just maybe, save a life. Thank you for being here, for listening, and for caring enough to learn. Stay calm, stay prepared, and stay alive. Because the best years of your life are not behind you. They're waiting right in front of you, and your heart is ready for every single one of them.